Okay, I just wanted to make a short little point about General Mathis and the Syrian war, kind of like hysteria we're going through right now in the media and talk radio, which is what I listen to quite a bit, since, as you can do, I do a lot of work on my own, so that's why I would even indulge in that stuff. Wouldn't recommend it to most people. If you don't have to, don't do it. But there is a benefit. You can kind of learn a little bit more about what's going on in the world. Maybe. So it just depends who you pick. I do listen to a lot of YouTubers now. I was actually listening to Michael Savage right now. Anyway, he's saying that, well, he did have a few quotes of Democrats who were just basically praising the attack. I'm speaking of if this is dated at some point, the Tomahawk missile attack on a Syrian Assad base, due to the assertion that he sent those missiles over. That he used chemical weapons on Syrian civilians, I believe. But anyway, I listened to Michael Savage, and he was basically quoting some Democrats, and they were saying, like, we want more attacks, we want this, that, we applaud him. What was his name? Peter Schiff. Just the leadership of the Democrats. Just name them at the time, 2017. Just figure out who they are. Anyway, they want this because they want to remove Assad. So they're applauding him, and they're even implying that this was a preemptive attack on, as a prelude to war. Let's put it that way. And I think they're wrong. We will see. They're assuming that this is just the beginning of the destruction of Assad's army. Because what is Syria? It's Assad. It's rebels. There's ISIS. And so anyway, what the Democrats seem to want, neocons as well, is to destroy Assad. And if you're a logical thinker and you've witnessed what's happened to the Middle East, you'll notice that every time that the Western powers take out a leader in the Middle East, that country just goes to shit. So if you're starting to wise up, you're going to say to yourself, do we want to remove Assad? And a lot of people are saying no. I would say no too, unless you give me a good explanation of who's going to take over. I'm not going to want that. So do I want another failed state with basically pirate mentality? Winner takes all. Pirates without, these pirates aren't even fun. They don't even drink. They just rape and pillage and act all crazy. So yeah, no, we don't want Syria to be leaderless. But my main point that I wanted to bring out is that Mathis, I listened to his press conference with another general. Mathis is the Secretary of Defense. He is a former general, so he can talk the talk. He answered most of the questions. He's not like some political, appointee. He is a general. He is very measured. I've looked into him before he was nominated and saw that he's very measured. He's from Washington State. I believe his family was, classically liberal, educated, bookish type people. He's a very fair person. He's thoughtful, and he understands the Middle East to the point where, he knows it's a quagmire. And he knows you have to change that place. It's going to take a very long time. But he's not a pushover, and he doesn't answer questions, and he doesn't inflame things. He doesn't. When he answered the questions at this press conference, he was saying, "Well, look." Someone asked, "Is this a change in policy? Is this the beginning of, what does this mean? Is this, what does this mean as far as Assad? Does that mean you're gonna basically they're trying to ask, are you gonna go ahead and take him out?" And he said, look, we're just going to continue with the mission of the focused mission of taking out ISIL. IS, I think he said. Anyway, so, and then that's just basically what the answer was. He didn't fall for the, like, blah, blah, blah. Quite, the media was pretty respectful of those guys, but those guys know how to answer questions without hyperbole. And he didn't telegraph anything. The reporters try to ask as much as they could about future actions, and they wouldn't say straight up like, no, we're not going to tell you, but they also said, look, we're focused on this mission, nothing has changed, but we are capable of taking on more more military targets, more military responsibility if needed, but that's not what we're doing now. We're focused on this gas, and I know in the mainstream media, mainstream media basically believes that Assad launches weapons without question. The alternative media, like on YouTube, where you might be watching this, they're saying that they don't know where we shouldn't assume that it's like a false flag or whatever. Even the Russians are like saying that. So the online media is saying, watch out. This might be just a ploy to get us into war and regime change. I think I kind of trust Mathis. We'll see, but I trust him. I trust his character. He doesn't seems pretty honorable guy. I don't see and pretty measured, and he does know what a fucking enemy is in the Middle East. He's not against it, but he also knows how to deal with it. It's not strict, blunt force. There's different, levels, to attack these things. So, and he knows it's like a long war. And the other generals, I think Mathis actually reminded us this is a highly complicated situation. And I think he said it's the most complicated civil war currently going on. He's not ignorant, and I don't think he wants more war just for the sake of it. So, as a Secretary of Defense, I'm kind of going to go ahead and believe him that there was some use of weapons that were outlawed. But I just wanted to stand up for the character of Mathis when these people who probably haven't even really done any research on Mathis and his character, his background. I've done a little bit, so I can at least talk a little bit about it. And I think he's an honorable guy and a realist. And he knows how to work a press conference. He's not giving too much information, but he's also not misdirecting as well. He's answering as best he can, but not over promising and not being overly defensive. So I think he's a good example, a good part of the Trump administration. So anyway, I just don't think they almost explicitly said, you can't predict the future, but we're not planning on massive war here, And there's no, and then one other point he mentioned, someone asked, what about Russia? Have we degraded relations with Russia, and will that lead to future conflict essentially? And I think he said something like, no, the best interest of Russians, having their best interest in mind for themselves, it wouldn't benefit them to do that, to start anything with us at this point. So he's using a logic of self-interest, and Russia doesn't have a self-interest in starting wars, so why would they? And also, I guess some people on the media, in the YouTube media, have been mentioning, well, why would Assad, use chemical weapons when he's winning, and get this penalty of losing some planes and whatever? It doesn't make sense. But maybe there's another explanation. I don't know. Maybe he just one of the reporters did ask a question that kind of may answer this. Is that maybe Assad was telegraphed. His assumption was that the Trump administration was going to let him go. It seems I was feeling that too. So why wouldn't he? So maybe he got a little bit ahead of the game, and went ahead and did something. The people are questioning, they want proof. I like some proof too, and I think the U.S. government should give us proof of what is their evidence. I think Michael Savage says, look, let's do DNA. You need to do a medical level investigation and connect the sarin gas to the victims to the source, so you can kind of identify it. So maybe we can have that. I mean, if they're going to start a war over this, which I don't think they are, we need that information. But what the generals were saying was this was just a punitive act specifically on the use of chemical weapons. Believe it or not, I'm not going to debate that anymore because I don't have enough information any more than you guys do. It's assumed that that's true. They're not talking about anything else. They're not building up a case against Assad. And I do think the administration doesn't want more instability in the region. So I think it was just, they said basically this is a penalty against using chemical weapons. That is it. It's not tolerable by anyone, and we have to send a message. So that's essentially what I heard. And they also implied that, or not implied, but they specifically said that he's used these weapons before. You can claim false flag all you want, but I don't, as a YouTuber or whatever, commenter on a YouTube channel, you're not gonna know. You're just not. Who knows? I mean, the government knows, and we'll know. Maybe we'll never know. But the reality is, I don't feel that the rhetoric is calling for more war at this time, and I think it is just isolated to that one chemical weapon situation that needs to be punished. And I also think Mathis is someone who you can kind of trust. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it at that. I think Mathis is someone you can rely on for truth to a certain degree. He's a general, but he's a strategist. He might be an art or war person, but I think it's good that he's on our side. And if we're gonna do something, we're not gonna tell anyone until the bombs drop. So I think we're in good hands with Mathis. That's what I'd like to wrap up on.